What's up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here, and more importantly, how are you doing, Michelle? Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Today, we have a super special video from a live event up at the Northeast Disc Golf Expo where we were able to sit down with 4 different content creation channels here on YouTube. We had Matt from the Nick and Matt Show, we had Jesse from Trash Panda Disc Golf, and we had Josh and Mikey from Overthrow, as well as myself, doing a content creator panel at the Northeast Disc Golf Expo where we started off with some general questions and then kind of opened it up to the audience to take some questions from them. There were several people at the event. There were over 1,100 overall, but not everybody was able to make it to this specific seminar. And so I wanted to make sure for future content creators who are out there or people who are just fans of these channels that you had the opportunity to hear from them and kind of hear what we said during a content creation panel. Because once again, I think something that I do here on the channel is I definitely help coach a lot of disc golfers, but I think as the sport continues to grow that we need to have room for content creators to continue to grow, because that creates more job opportunities inside of the sport so that you don't just have to find your role in disc golf being with one of the major manufacturers or being the best of the best on the Pro Tour. So I hope this is helpful, and I hope you guys enjoy this content creation seminar.
So catch me if I fall.
What would each of you say has contributed the most to your success up to this point? If you think about it and say, what has helped me? Is it my brand? Is it my material? Is it our production? Where would you rank that stuff that's actually driven your success? And you can pass the mic or you can use this one as well.
Because I'm holding it and talking is what I do, I'll just start with it and then I'll pass it down to whoever's next. So one of the thoughts that we had when we started this channel was to provide content that people were interested in hearing about disc golf. And we knew that there was Smashbox out there, and that was pretty much the only one at the time doing a podcast. Foundation was just starting to get in the game with their podcast network as well. And we always thought to ourselves, what do we want when we walk away from a podcast? When we're done with a podcast or any content that we are creating, what do we want to walk away with? And we used to say, you want someone to walk away feeling like they received something of value. They learned something, or they were satisfied with the entertainment. Like they felt like that was worth it. And so everything that we do, that's the first thing in our mind is, will they feel like they received something in value? So shout out, one of the ways we did that was partner up with Stat Mando. So because Nick and Matt, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Stat Mando, they're hearing a stat that they wouldn't have heard anywhere else. And they always walk away with something new, valuable information. So if you're making whatever content you're doing, think to yourself, are they going to leave feeling like they learned something or gained something of value? At the very least, if you talked about equipment, you can do this with iPhones. If people walk away feeling like they learned something or gained value, they'll be back.
Yeah. Going off of that a little bit, Josh and I, when we first started the channel, the reason we got into it is actually at the time we were both tennis instructors and we both had a passion for good coaching. And so we saw just, I guess, blank spaces in the disc golf space where we had all these resources for tennis. And it's basically the same thing that Matt was saying is you have to look for the gaps. Like, are they not getting something resourceful from YouTube that they could be getting? So for me personally, I saw at the time, I was doing creative work. So I do all the video work and the production side of our channel. And little side thing most people don't know about me, I actually got to spend the year editing and filming for Paul Macbeth. So anything you guys see from Paul Macbeth's channel from last year during the season, I was behind the camera doing all that stuff. And I've also now working with the Paul Macbeth Foundation as well. And so that's my background. And yeah, we both just look for how can we add to this space. And I think, why would they watch us if there's already someone out there doing what we're doing? So I think even back when I first started trying to do YouTube channels as like a solo, I didn't even think about like what value am I adding, and those channels failed because I was like, oh, if I'm just good enough, If I'm exactly like Mr. Beast, well, then people will watch my channel. But why would they watch me over Mr. Beast? They're already getting that from Mr. Beast. So having that kind of mentality of where can I add value instead of try to imitate someone that's already giving value, I think is a helpful tip. So here you go, Jesse.
For me, it all comes down to the people, like you all. In terms of, like, there's a quote that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. For me, in building a company and building a brand, I don't want to do this by myself. I have a staff, but also connecting with all of you, like, that's what makes it worth it. And so for me, the content is all designed around, okay, I'm doing something. How can I bring people along for this? How can we do this together? So that's kind of the way I mentally think about it. And the part for me where that truly sticks out is basically just pulling the curtain back on making discs, on how it's done, on the process of building a company and everything therein. So that's kind of the general structure for me, is just trying to build a connection point where we can actually learn and grow together.
That was beautiful.
Mike already spoke on it, but all of our video ideas, for the most part, we do enjoy doing like YouTube-y things, like the Innova video that some of you guys saw and hated. I got so much crap for that. It's fine. But that's like, we do enjoy spreading our wings and doing like, okay, this would just be a good YouTube video, but we're a little bit different in instruction, because the big thing with content creation is if you're trying to get into it, it's basically see a need, fill a need. It's like, if there's a way to serve people that you specifically are equipped to do well, then that's your channel. And if you're not able to fill that need, it's not just like when people are like, oh, I want to do a channel. What videos do well? Maybe I'll do disc reviews, or maybe I'll do all this other stuff that's going well. And it's like, I don't know, are you a good reviewer? Like, what makes you a good reviewer? If there's already people in that space, like, you have to serve and add value to the people, and the algorithm and all. That's just, Mr. B said it best. Every time you hear the word algorithm, replace it with audience. Oh, the algorithm changed. No, it didn't. You just stopped serving people, and they just didn't care about your videos anymore because they didn't add value to them. So people go to YouTube for value basically in 3 lanes, I think. They go either for education, for entertainment, or for proximity. Proximity is probably the weirdest one, but I'd say, like, if Paul Macbeth had a video of him eating eggs, you guys would watch it. You'd be like, what is Paul Macbeth eating for breakfast? Oh my gosh, oats? That's amazing. Love that video. Liked, subscribed, right? And it's like, it's just a dude eat, yeah. The goat eating oats, right? Because you guys want proximity to him, right? So if you're able to add value, I think those are the 3 places that YouTubers add value. You get someone like Simon, and he's adding value in multiple of those lanes, proximity plus entertainment. And that's where you get like huge channels. But if you have a need for people and you can fill it, you'll probably do well, right? So all of our videos just come from, I said the same thing to, like, I'm going to go through in these 15 million form reviews that I'm doing for free over there. When I say the same thing 15 million times, I'm be like, I guess we're going to make a video on that. And everybody else is going to see and be like, oh, that helped me. Well, of course, there are only so many form problems that are unique. So for us, it's just like serving the people by giving them the information. We're trying to make sure that what do we do? Like, replace myself with online coaching instead of in-person coaching. So it's really not like a crazy unique thought process. How you execute the video, that's different. But the heart of the content is like, just serve people. And generally, when it comes to YouTube, you'll be rewarded for that. So.
Retweet. No, but like, all the feel-good stuff they said, 100% true. Thinking about the people we have in the panel, or like in the audience right here, serve a need. Most of you may think about getting into content creation. And I want to go ahead and let you know that there are amazing channels that no one's ever heard of. who have all of the things we're talking about right here, and no one's ever heard about it. So practically, with the going back to the question that was, what helped us the most? For me on YouTube, it was when I realized that YouTube is a search engine, like viewing it as a search engine. So you can have amazing content, you can have amazing stuff, amazing morals, all of that. When you look at, Josh mentioned it, we do form reviews, we do lessons all the time. After something shows up so many times, you realize, yeah, people probably want to learn about this. People have this problem. I want to learn how to throw far. So you make a video that talks about how to throw far. Cheap way to climb in disc golf. Yeah, it works, whatever. You can, like, that's just nuts and bolts, right? But man, I wish I could make more putts. Someone's going to search that on YouTube. So if your video is titled, how to make more putts, and you actually help people solve that problem, then they're going to be like, wow, that was awesome. I wonder what else they can help me with. So whenever I work with new channels, new content creators, it is act like a professional from day one. Because if people like the content that you put out, then they're going to go to your channel and then they're going to be like, I want to watch another video by this person. And when you have a wealth of content that looks great from day one, they're going to keep going. They're going to keep, and that's where you get your subscribe button. So that's like, I agree with everything we said here, but truly from a practical standpoint, look at what people use your platform that you're trying to grow on for. YouTube is a search engine. TikTok is a time filler. Instagram is a way to connect via photos and experience. Meet that need with the motto.
Excellent. So are there any burning questions from the audience? Will this wireless mic work out here?
Should.
So here's my question. I am looking at all of you guys who have a wealth of knowledge, and I am noticing one glaring omission, and that is a woman sitting up there. So number one, what are you guys doing to reach out to women? And number two, what are you doing to recruit women to your actual podcast channels, YouTube videos, so they're actually up there being seen by other people?
Wants to get wrecked first. So who are the lady content creators would be my first question. Miss Frisbee's. Okay. She's competing right now, so she couldn't be here. Or else we'd probably have invited her. But yeah, we talked to Miss Frisbee's. So this is a very case-by-case basis. One, there's just not as many female disc golf content creators out there. There's not many female disc golfers. If we put up our YouTube analytics right now, mine is like 9. Hopefully it's like at least 2% females watching. But I'm pretty sure Robbie's channel has the high. We actually talk about this. We look like at our analytics and we see like how many ladies are watching this. I think he's the highest with like how many percent?
4.
4. Right. So first it's like they got to be there first to encourage them. And these guys, especially when we first started, these guys reached out to us, and we did the same thing with Miss Frisbee's. We got her over at the Creators Cup. Like, hey, what do we got to do to get you there? Like, just very practically, it was, hey, when we were talking about who we invited to the Creators Cup, it was us, me, Robbie, and Hunter Thomas, and it was like, who are we gonna get there? What are the channels that are like putting in work? So the criteria was they have to have, 1, we have to like them. 2, they have to have videos on the channel, not like, oh, last video 6 months ago. It's like, you're not getting invited because you hadn't been putting in the work. And so out of all the content creators, there was 1 female that met that criteria. And it wasn't even like, we don't like the other ones. It was just like, they have to be putting in work. And then it was like, yo, Chantel, what do we have to do to get you there? Oh, it's like probably a little expensive because we live in Canada and we got to drive. And it's like, okay, well, hey, you want room in our Airbnb, you and your hubby? That would make it possible, probably. Let's check, right? And so there she was. But she's competing, unfortunately. There's just a lack of female creators out there. And I'd love to learn about more that are putting out content. But like that's the thing, is they got to be there. But yeah, I don't think any of us wouldn't want them here. Matt?
That is a great question. He already said some things that are foundational to what I'm going to say. But shout out to the Party Podcast. Anybody know the disc golf podcast that is put on by Hannah Macbeth and Christine Jennings? They only talk FPO disc golf, and it is now available, I think, on all platforms, not behind a paywall. So you should definitely check them out. Hannah Macbeth is a huge fan of our show and friends. We're pretty good friends. And so when something specific to maybe FPO comes up, do you want to hear a bunch of guys talking about it? At some level, we can talk at a very media professional, but when it comes up on something really specific, we aren't the right demographic to do that. And so we'll bring Hannah Macbeth in onto our show to talk about those things specifically. She would be the expert. She has the experience of touring and doing that. I have had it in the back of my head for a while, getting a female guest or female host on our show. But just like anything, and I'm sure there's probably some tentativeness here with whether it was male or female, intern Ben was the last person we brought into our show. And it was just a decision in the moment of, this feels exactly right, let's do it. We aren't actively putting out like interviews, taking interviews to bring on a female host because we want it to be the right person when the right time is there. And for now, Hannah Macbeth fills that slot for us. But I think it could be very beneficial to our show. Our perspectives are going to be different. Absolutely. Thank you for the question.
Anyone else?
I would just, thank you for the question first and foremost. I think, first of all, Casey is right here, and she is well suited to be on this panel right now, just as well as we are, or at least I can speak for myself there. In terms of what I do on the content side with our YouTube channel, it's the behind the scenes of our business. And considering it was just myself for a couple years, it's really just been me this whole time. But in terms of the podcast, and then in terms of my company's fiscal resources, we are very actively supporting the growth of the sport on the women's side. Specifically, as a growing business, you know, we don't like, we're our startup. We're very much so just investing everything back into the business. But my team has been instructed in terms of sponsorships that we will sponsor Colorado tournaments and women's disc golf. Anything else at this point, we don't have the fiscal resources to sponsor right now. So stuff like that. My team is 6 employees. 2 of them are women. I'm actively trying to work on that. And then our podcast as well, you know, trying as much as I can there, but definitely can do better. So I can only speak to myself there, but thank you for the question. It's something we need to work on, all of us.
I have one more comment. I think it's tremendous. It was a stark thing you could see up here, right? I think it's important that we do try to grow the women's side of it, but not unorganically, if you will. I want it to be more organic than it is driven to try to fill something that maybe isn't ever going to be more than 5 or 20%, right? Like we just don't know. But let's make it organic. And part of what we do at the Nick and Matt show to fill that is we've always interviewed FPO and MPO post winners. So most recently we had Kristen Tatar on just last week. We are not specific to trying to give MPO anymore over FPO. We bring both of them. We've interviewed, I think, just about every top 10, if not more, FPO player. When they win, they get on. So we're trying to give them a voice.
By the way, grow with the sport. If this was an Instagram panel, we would not be up here. All right. You'd have way more ladies up here if this was an Instagram panel, right? But we're talking a YouTube perspective, right? So we're not even top 500 probably on Instagram, but like Disc Golf Gal, Carolee, like all these huge lady Instagrammers, which I do know, but that's a different type of content creation. So my brain's like totally not there. So I should clarify that so I don't sound like a total jerk.
All right.
Too late.
Thank you. Any other burning questions? If not, I have some other prompts. Anybody? All right. Hopefully you're finding this valuable. All right. Here's a couple questions. And by the way, I'm happy if all 5 of you answer all these, but you don't have to either. How much of your content is truly original to you, or was it inspired by something else, maybe something outside of disc golf?
Okay, so philosopher in me goes back to there's not been an original idea since like the early Greeks, but that's okay. So inspiration, 100%. Like, I watch a lot of YouTube in general to be inspired. And I think as like even my Instagram content, to include Instagrammers, since Josh hates Instagram, we're trying. Yeah, right. We're trying. Yeah. So my wife watches TikTok. She's not on Instagram. And since Instagram Reels are just TikTok 2 weeks later, like, she looks for sounds. When she finds them, she sends them to me. And then I go, hey, how could I translate this into a disc golf context? So I'm constantly searching in that way. YouTube content, I actually watch a lot of golf instruction, because as much as disc golfers like hate to say like, oh man, ball golf's the worst, man, like we are following in their footsteps, like straight up. So why should we not learn from an established coaching style that exists in golf? So there are lots of golf. We are playing golf at the end of the day. When I tell people I want to make you better, I say I want to make better golfers, which is why I spend a lot of time talking about strategy on my channel and how you attack the course and things like that. So I definitely watch a lot of external content. And if someone's like, oh man, no, I saw that. I quoted The Way of the Playa, which is disc golf, or it's Golf Sidekick is their like channel. Great. I got no qualms with that. If another person's idea that you as a disc golfer would literally never watch makes you play better disc golf, I don't know why that's a problem for me to get out there and play it. And I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, that was my original idea. Way to go, Golf Sidekick. That's a good tip. We probably should all use it.
Anyone else on that question?
Yep, we're in lots of ways totally unoriginal. I will say, eating the Tide Pod was like a new idea with our previous generation or younger generation, eating Tide Pods. Everybody missed that? Wow.
Bad idea.
Bad idea. Okay, did not read the room. Oh, wow. All right, anyways, we're unoriginal.
Yeah, I would say if I can be so bold as to say my biggest strength as a content creator, it is that I am first a content consumer. So there's a guy named Austin Kleon. He has a book called Steal Like an Artist. I think that's a beautiful saying. One inspiration for me that I'll speak to just very directly, and the YouTube comments had to come up at some point, so here we go. There's a gentleman named Casey Neistat that you've probably never heard of. I'm totally kidding. Everyone knows who Casey is. I have a ton of inspiration from Casey in terms of transitions and how he films a story and whatnot. And so I've tried to do that since day one. And so you'll constantly see like little transitional pieces in our videos. And one time I got a comment that said, we're always watching you walk in and out of doors. And I appreciated that so much because that's the transition and that's the story. So that's just me stealing like an artist there.
Unoriginal.
Podcasts, there's so many. It's the largest growing form of vocal content that there is in the world. Radio is getting nearly replaced. You can find something for everything. So podcasts are obviously unoriginal, but how we can do it and provide the value to the listener is something. This goes back to the first comment I made. What can you find that somebody else isn't doing? But look to those that you find value in. So I'm going to start out. You've heard of Smashbox at some point in your life. They're older now. They're in like episode 300 plus. We looked at them and that was the content I was consuming. And this is not a diss on Smashbox, but I said, what can we do better than them? And we love each other, by the way. I work with Terry all the time. We're texting, but people all the time are trying to pit us against each other. Same thing with Foundation. You'll see the comments. It's pretty funny. Comments will come into the Nick and Matt show. It goes like, man, this sucks compared to Foundation. Or you go to Foundation, they're like, man, they brought on this expert over Nick and Matt Foundation. And I'm like, we aren't doing that. The people that are listening, they want value and they're trying to find the value. So when you look at something you already like, find that value and then say, how can I do it better? And usually you're going to determine what better is. And because there's a need, based off of what you think would be better, there's other people like you. So if you look at the Nick and Matt show and you go, they do okay, but man, they could be so much better if, and by the way, we're always trying to think of that too. They could be so much better if, then go do that because you will have something better and more entertaining. So we were inspired by other disc golf podcasts. Absolutely.
And in many ways, in terms of YouTube in general, we stand on the shoulders of other industries, of other creators and everything like that. And it would be an absolute honor if you stood on our shoulders in some way or another. So that is why we are creating. It is paving a path where, like, I cannot wait to not be making videos and just be consuming what everyone else is doing in the future. Please stand on our shoulders.
Like, one of the biggest reasons that I am full-time in disc golf content is because of Jesse calling me and saying, hey, I just wanted to reach out and like, you're doing your thing and I want to talk about it. And like that was our conversation from day one. Is when we started our channel, Disc Golf Nerd was the man. Like, it was, okay, he's out there, he's doing his thing. He has 10,000 subscribers. And if you go outside of like Jomez or Gatekeeper or all these guys doing like post-produced coverage, Disc Golf Nerd, top dog. And we were like, wow, I can't even imagine ever having 10,000 subscribers. And so we said, let's blaze that trail. Like, we will be the ones who move it forward. And yeah, I agree with Jesse. Like, we did it so that we can like answer questions like this, so that we can help you. That's part of my work week every week is I talk to other content creators trying to help them grow their channel. As much coaching as I do in disc golf, I love that I get to coach people in disc golf content as well. And I fail at it quite often. Casey has so many messages that I am horrific at responding to, but I try to get there when I can. And like, that's one thing I would say as a content creator is if you've reached out to people and they haven't responded, 99% of the time, I promise, they don't hate you and they are not trying to be rude. Most of them literally haven't seen the message. Like, it just doesn't get through. So know that like we listen and we try. Just want to put that preface out there.
Let me say one last thought.
If you didn't know, I'm the talker. What he just said, I just wanted to piggyback on. I'll go into a message and I'll see it and I'll be like, oh, and I'll respond. But I'll go, I know this was 2 months ago and you were asking like, what can you, like, how are we doing XYZ on our platform? And like, I want to provide that information to them. And it sounds like you kind of want to keep proprietary stuff. Like, we figured out a lot of really cool things, but they're asking us how to do it. And I'm like, go do it. Partly because I know it's such a grind to do it. I'll give it to anybody. If you put in that effort to do it, you can go do it. So reach out. But as he said, sometimes it just disappears. You're like, this was a long time ago. I'm just now seeing it.
Does the quality of the production actually matter? What I mean is, Matt earlier, for example, said, hey, you can just use an iPhone. We also know you can get a $10,000 camera. You can get editing software. You can use free. And I realize that's a complex question with complex answer, but what's some responses? I have a mic right here. Robbie, you can grab this.
Quality. If you upgrade anything in your channel or your content first, what matters far and above is audio. Like, all of your money should go into audio, and your audio should sound amazing first. Does it really matter at the end of the day? No. Like, if you are providing quality content, the quality of the content is inferior. If I go back and watch literally any of my early videos that got me to where I am, I cringe so hard at them. I did not start using a literal camera until I had 40,000 subscribers on my channel. I got to 40,000 on YouTube with an iPhone. It made that guy, 3 guys over, cringe every single time, because Mikey has fantastic, like, Mikey can't even watch a movie on a television if the settings are not correct on the television, because he's like, it's just not how it's meant to be shot. So that's why Mikey didn't watch any of my early content. And that makes sense. So there are people out there that works for. But if your audio sounds good and your video looks horrific, you know what I can do? I can put you on while I brush my teeth, and I can just set it right there and I can listen to you. But if you sound like you're in a wind tunnel, not really going to hear what you're teaching, even if you're going to teach me how to throw 500 feet in one day. Audio matters a ton, but like, straight up, 40,000 subscribers with this phone. Yeah. Like, quality content reigns over the quality of the content.
I love good quality of content. So I film in 4K with external mics. Like I love it. So it pains me to say that it doesn't matter at all. Similar to Robbie, my first 10,000 subscribers was on a camera that filmed in 720p. This is in 2020. It'd be nice if it was in 2010, but it's in 2020, 720p, and it didn't hook up to an external mic. I had my garage door shut. It was an echo chamber, and the lighting was fluorescent bulbs in the ceiling. It was horrible.
I still agree that it is secondary to the content, no matter how good it looks or how good it sounds. Like if there's nothing valuable for people to take away from, then it's not going to be good. And I experienced that firsthand with some of my really good quality vlogs that I did before, Overthrow, and it was just bad content, so it didn't matter. But good quality gear will highlight, it's like marketing for your channel. If you have the good content there, quality can only add to your channel. And that means the more expensive cameras, they do add. And if something's super clear in 4K with a nice background blur and some of these things you might not even think of, but you're just going to think oh, this is a really good quality video. Maybe that's just a quick thought that you have, but it all goes into the full experience of the content itself. And yeah, I mean, since this is what I do for a living, I would say, and I would put more emphasis on quality does matter, but you can absolutely get away with it if the content is good. Absolutely. You don't need the good quality. The good quality can just add to your brand. So don't feel oh man, if I just had this camera, I would be, 100,000 subscribers just like this person. It's no, that's not the case. It's the content first, and then the quality is something we should care about. It's not something that we should be oh yeah, let's just, get this stuff out there. Again, you can get away with it, but quality will just add to the experience. And yes, I agree. Audio is number one. Bad audio will ruin a video. So that's my, I basically just restated what y'all said, but with more emphasis.
Right. So $10,000+ in material doesn't guarantee that your content is good.
Right. Best equipment, crap idea, no subscribers.
Yep.
But the video looks amazing,
Yeah.
even though the content is...
Yeah, you still have to, the quality of the production helps you get your value to the client, to the subscriber, the viewer is what I'm looking for there, right? Imagine a disc review channel, but they can only film with their camera and they only catch the first 50 feet of the flight. Does the quality of the equipment matter there? Of course. If you're a disc review channel and they got a drone shot and they're doing follow flights in the lines they do it for every single throw. And then you go to this guy who only catches the first 100 feet and then it blurs in the background and they got this little square showing you across the screen where it goes. Which one are you going to watch? You're going to watch the one with the drones and the follow flights and all that stuff because it's communicating the value that you're taking away from the video, which is how does this disc fly? For us, the instruction, the quality of Mikey's edits enhance the instruction, right? And so depending on where you're at and what type of content you're trying to distribute, the quality matters more or less. Matt doesn't need great video stuff. He could have the blurriest video out there, but yeah, as long as the audio is passable. And if he has if he's the only person who has Paul Macbeth, Kristen Tatar, and the audio is kind of like this, and you can't kind of catch but every other word, you're still going to watch because he's the only person that has those people on there. So the content has surpassed the crap audio to an extent. Now you can't just...
To an extent.
There's obviously an extent there. And I was just thinking through it. I'm not sure how to put this in words, but I mentioned earlier using your iPhone, right? And we said content. I think we can say quality of content. We're using the quality twice there, is more important than quality of the production. But you're talking about disc reviews, right? So my first thought is well, how do I use what I have to do a quality disc review? There is a limitation. You have to find this. You have to find, okay, what can I do with my phone that isn't trying to follow the flight of the disc, because it's not going to work and it's going to frustrate people. So what kind of disc reviews can I do with a phone? Like you have to think down that road of like, what could I do with this phone that's going to do that? You're still going to be missing some of the mark, but you don't want to try to push it so far that you can't use what you're using. I don't know how else to say it. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
Like at that point, you're like, maybe I'm not a disc reviewer, right? Anyways.
By the way, these are definitely content creators because if you ask a question, they just keep creating content on the spot. No, I love this. Any other questions?
My question is, when you first started out, why didn't you, like, what motivated you to keep going? Like, no subscribers, low views, no money, but you didn't stop.
He said money. That's why I'm laughing.
So for me, it was pretty simple. I gave myself a timeline when I started, and I just chose 6 months. Normally, I'm a very goal-oriented person, so I would have said, I want to see if I have this many subscribers by 6 months, then I'll keep going. But I didn't know anything about gaining subscribers or anything like that with YouTube. So I just said, at 6 months, I will diagnose, and I will decide if I'm going to keep going. And at 6 months, I was very affirmed with where things were at, so I decided to keep going. But I just set myself a parameter and said, I'm going to keep doing it for this 6 months. And by the time 6 months was up, I was stoked on keeping going. And actually, my best performing video of all time was like on the 6 month dot. So that was kind of ironic, and maybe that's what kept me going. Who knows?
I was joking with the crew up here because they said what kept us going. And I was like, it was the hate comments. I'll tell you what, the hate comments are a thing on YouTube, right? And you're like, man, like that hurts. And you know what? I realized when it hurts, it's because we care too. Someone's usually pointing out something that we see as our flaw. And we're like, we know that. Like, we're working on that. So that's kind of inspirational to be like, let's get to a place where we're satisfied. But in all seriousness, if you're thinking about doing something and getting into some form of content creation, find something that you are satisfied doing, whether or not people watch. And I know that sounds crazy, but when we started the Nick and Matt show, I literally was like, you know what? Like, if 20 people tune in, like, we're doing this because we enjoy it. First week, I think we had 70 people tune in the very first time. Now we're you know, we get like 20,000 per episode every week. And I'm like, I'd be doing this regardless. And that's where you really should be, because you will. And there were periods of time over the past 3 years when I about threw in the towel because I was just like, man, this is a lot of work. Then I'm like, well, why am I doing this? Oh, because I like it. And I have to renew. You don't do it because you're trying to grind and trying to be like someone else. Do it because you like it. And it's just going to carry you on forever.
My favorite disc golf memory to this day is September 2020. I went to a tournament. I had been making content. I started in March of 2020 on YouTube. And I went to a tournament, and the guy who won rec was losing his mind. He was so stoked. And he walked up with his friends, and he was like, hey, can you take a picture of me and my friends with a trophy? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I went to take the picture, and I was like, all right, 1, 2, 3, leave you with the birdie. Took the picture, and the guy froze right there and was like, wait a minute, do you make YouTube videos? Yeah. And at that point, no one watched my YouTube videos. Like, I had like 80 subscribers. And he was like, dude, you put out a putting video, straight up. I used it all day today, and I won this tournament. And it was at that moment that I said, oh man, someone's actually watching, and we have done it. We have made someone enjoy this sport more. And like, the hate comments, they exist, and they're always going to exist. And your DMs could get real nasty, real bad, especially if you're a female. It's like, I think that's a reason why we're not seeing it anymore, is because I have a lot of mental stamina, and I get bogged down by this. People suck. Like, it is rough. But notice, I know not in the booth that I've been in all day today, I've not had one person walk up and go, hey, Robbie, how's it feel to have a noodle arm?
Yeah.
Hey, Robbie, how's it feel to be absolute garbage? Hey, Robbie, how's it feel to have the largest forehead known to man? Literal comments that I've gotten before. But no one's meeting me in person talking about that. And at night, you can go to sleep with the like, oh, man, I can't believe that Steve kept telling me I should compete in junior women's because that's where I'd actually find competition. Junior women's slay, by the way. So it just, those comments can reign true. Like, and when I heard Simon on the Nick and Matt show say that he doesn't go back and read his own comment section because he is afraid of what they're going to say. Great. Because you wonderful people coming and complimenting us, we don't need it for the compliments, but you're making an impact. Meet a need, make an impact. And this is what makes it worth it at the end of the day, is we're making disc golf more enjoyable for other people. Do you want to answer that?
I'll ask a super quick question so we don't have to take too long because we want to be sustainable.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, we've talked a little bit about it, but how do we take content and grow disc golf? When you look at YouTube, you see 1 million regular golf channels, and they've got millions of views on every single video. What are you guys doing, I guess, to take those viewers, take them, bring them to disc golf to maybe get them to our sport? For example, I've been disc golfing for 1.5 years, almost 2 years. I've been ball golfing for 20, 25. I have almost fully switched to disc golf. And now I need to get everyone else to switch with me so we can be the regular golf. What are you guys doing to kind of do that and get people away from ball golf and to disc golf?
Sorry, before, what content did you watch first that got you into disc golf? Exactly. Yeah. So usually it happens one of 3 ways nowadays. It used to be one of 2 ways. It used to be someone watched Jomez and then they got in, or a friend dragged them out, or someone that they knew, right? So it wasn't actually a content creator unless it was Jomez. And then there's some people like Dan up here who saw that Brody was playing, which is now the 3rd way, and now he came over, right? So for us, the way that YouTube works is we're not pulling people out who aren't interested in disc golf into disc golf. Not how our channel works. Our channel works, people come to our videos because they're in disc golf and want to get better at disc golf, right? And then their friend takes them out to play, and their friend's super competitive because he played, really good high school sports, or he played sports in college, and then he's getting whooped by his scrawny little friend. And then he comes to our channel because he wants to get better, but he's already inside of disc golf. So we don't necessarily pull people out except secondhand because we help you like whoop up on your really athletic friends.
So here's where I think we help grow the sport as creators. And something that manufacturers still in disc golf just straight up don't get. Because if you go to content creation in pretty much any other industry, it's big, it makes a lot of money, all that. And that's why we're here, is because we're all rich because of disc golf content creation. Not true at all. But literally, I can't, not for Matt, but for the 4 of us, this is our full-time job, is content creation. Jesse's a manufacturer, coaching. We have all found careers inside of disc golf. None of us at this table are going on the pro tour anytime soon. So where the sport grows is that most people don't understand how actually good the pros are that are playing. They're the 0.01% at the very top. There's not room for the sport to grow if the only way for the sport to grow is being a professional. So content creation continuing to grow. My hope is that you realize with your iPhone, you can make content in disc golf. And so now you can help. Hey, I need to have more people on the channel. So you can bring those people in, and then more people can have a job in disc golf. And when more people have jobs in disc golf itself is naturally going to grow. It's going to reach more people because now Bob that you meet at Bob's Burgers also happens to be into disc golf. What does he do for a living? When I sit down to get my hair cut every time, there's not a lot of them to cut, but they're always like, what do you do for a living? Oh, I make disc golf content. Never heard of disc golf. It's called Frisbee golf. That's cool. And that helps grow the sport. So for me, that's how we bring people in, is we make more people have jobs in disc golf that have an influence, have a connection that aren't on the pro tour.
Yeah, I love content, but my business is primarily funded through other streams, and like our staff is supported through the fact that we're a manufacturer. So in terms of the content that we make, it's so hard to make a living out of it, because you have to show up day after day when there's 10 people watching your videos. In terms of growing the sport outside of disc golf, I run a brand that is a niche within a niche. So I wouldn't say that I'm doing anything particularly incredible on that front, outside of the fact that I'm heavily involved in the recycling and sustainable world. And so there's a lot of people in that category, especially with the state of Colorado and the work we're doing there, that are finding out about disc golf and the value in disc golf through just another avenue. So that's probably all I do.
We don't even play disc golf or show you how to play disc golf. We just talk about it. That's a niche within a niche. Like, it's like people find us or they hear what we do. And I'm like, even today, hey, have you heard of the Nick and Matt show? Most of you are polite enough to say yes. Some of you would say, no, I haven't. And I said, it's probably because you like playing more than you like listening about it. And it's true, but you find that people really they find out there's a tour, and then once they get hooked on that, they can't get enough. The tour ends and they want to hear us talk about it. So we're not really doing much to expose people beyond those who are already really invested. That's the same for our content.
One thing I can say about coaching channels, at least, is that it helps grow the sport, in that if you don't get better at the sport, you're not going to stick with it. So if they go to YouTube and there's no way to help them get better, and there's no way for them, outside of their friends trying to teach them sometimes the wrong things to do to get better at the sport, they're not going to stick around. And it's good to have those resources so that people can enjoy the sport more. Like, the better you get at disc golf, the more you enjoy it. Or at least that's the case for me. Some people, it's like, it's just simply go out with your friends and have a good time. They never get better. And that's definitely a niche of disc golf. But I think most of us we look to enjoy the sport more competitively and get better. And so I think that is a big value add to help keep people in the sport. If they don't get better, perhaps, and if everyone else is getting better, they're not, maybe they give it up for something that they go and find, pickleball instead of disc golf, which is a great sport, by the way. Don't leave disc golf for it, but, try it out. All right, get this mic away from me.
All right.
My bad.
So we'll probably make this the last question. I don't think we're kicking anybody off, so conversation can still happen, but then we'll probably take a 5-minute break before Jesse comes back. Here's the last question. What advice would you give to your past self when you were just getting started in the content creation business? So now you know everything you know. It's brought you to be on a panel, right? People are asking you questions and listening to what you're saying. If you could rewind, whether it be 1, 2, 3, 5, 8 years, and say, if I knew what I knew now, this is what I would have told myself, what would that piece of advice be?
I do not have a good answer for that question, so I'm looking forward to listening to everyone else. All I will say there is that there is something beautiful about the childlike awareness of being a beginner at something. Going back, like, one of the biggest strengths in my channel early on was that I didn't pay attention to click-through rate and audience retention like I do now. And so I honestly probably wouldn't change anything. I would go back and just let that guy who doesn't know what he's doing in his garage keep not knowing what he's doing in his garage. Maybe actually I'd tell him to blink more, because, well, don't watch my early videos. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know if... Well, yeah, I think the big thing that popped out to me when you said that initially was, don't just try to literally imitate someone. That was the one thing I thought. I was like, oh, I can do the exact same thing this person's doing, the same quality, the same everything. I can mimic everything. And then they'll watch my channel, and that just was not a good way of thinking about it. So I would just go back and tell myself, like, don't worry about it. Just, like, get better at video and all the stuff you're really good at that you can add value to, and then keep going down that path, and you'll be successful. I'm not in front of the camera, but I'm very good at making our channel successful alongside Josh. So it's a process, and it's something that I wish I would have understood. Like, okay, here are the things I'm good at, and let's invest in those things. Don't just try to completely copy. We did talk about earlier, like, there are things that we do that aren't original, but there's a difference between like taking inspiration and straight up copying. Don't think like your personality or something is enough to like be able to copy what they're doing and like, oh, well, I have a different personality than them, and so it'll be different. Like, find something new and valuable to add, like we've been saying this whole time. That's what I would tell myself.
I think just if I'm talking to when we started the channel, just remind myself of what the value is that I'm aiming to add. Like, how am I like when you guys look at our channel, if you look at our channel and you're like, I watch it because of this. It's not because Josh is a good disc golfer. Unless you are, raise your hand. I'd be happy to meet you. We could, but I'm not a good disc golfer. And when those comments come through and all that, it's like really easy. Like Matt was saying, you read a comment and someone's like, this guy's trash. I'm like, I agree, man. Like, we're on the same page here. But it's like the comments don't tell you anything you didn't already know about yourself. That's the funny thing about those. Anyways, it's like, this guy needs to eat a salad. I'm like, yeah, probably. I love salads. But anyways, like, yeah. That would have been a great thing, like our comment roast section. Anyways, it's like I would just tell myself that nobody cares if you're a good player or not. Like, just remember, this is the big thing. Is like, just get other people better. Like, every video that you produce, unless it's for fun, like our vlogs and stuff like that, is like, your value is to have other players play better than you. Like, just get other people better. Don't worry about, because it's really hard. You want to play disc golf good. Like, I'm not immune to that. I really don't like shanking drives and missing putts, just like the next guy. But I would just tell myself, like, be solid in what your role is in that channel, and it's coaching value, not playing value.
Who's going to bring us home, Matt or Robbie?
Robbie, you're going to bring us home. So
Okay,
I'll go and then you go.
Okay.
I feel like you got the most applause lately, so.
Oh, sorry.
I will say, if I could go back and tell myself when we started 3 years ago, I typically dive in without checking how deep the water is. So that's kind of what I did here. But I'll remind you again, do it because you love it. That's why. It will grow, and if it doesn't grow, you love it, and so it doesn't matter. Number one. Number two, and it was already said by Robbie, each and every one of you who stops by and says, hey, I love what you're doing, I want to be reminded that these people that are there in front of you are the people who matter. Because what's so easy to have happen, and it's got brought up twice, and it's a whole nother session, I'm sure, the negative comments come in. And it's really interesting thing. And intern Ben, I don't know where he's around here. He ended our show last week. He ended our show last week by saying, and this was unsolicited, but he goes, why don't you leave a nice comment for Matt and Nick? He goes, it's pretty easy to leave a negative one. Why don't you go out of your way to leave a nice one? I don't know if it worked because I don't look at the comments. I've tasked him to look at them. But in all seriousness, I've just discovered never once, and I've met thousands through all the tour events I've been to. I'm sure it's the same here. How many people have come up and just like smacked you in the face and said like, you don't belong there? It doesn't happen, but it does happen online. So I just want to remind myself, in the past, Matt, would be the people who matter are the ones you come in contact with. The content we create, it's what you guys see. And then when you see us, that's when we get the value return. We're like, wow, the people who are in our face, right? Not typing in keyboards. So just a reminder of the real value.
I would say I love Mikey's, like, I wouldn't change anything because we wouldn't be the channels we are today without the mistakes we made. I think I would tell myself, remember to love the sport. So if you decide to become a content creator, ideally it goes well. And then you become super successful, and this hobby that you currently have then turns into more of a time commitment, and then it turns into more of a job. And you can very easily find yourself on the other side of it, stressed out because you don't have enough time to do this, this, and this. And man, I can't go do blank activity because I gotta get the podcast studio set up. I can't go do this because I have to go make 18,000 inner cores. I can't go do this because I have to do 15 million form reviews. I can't, like, you can quickly come up with your list. The healthiest thing that I have done in the last 3 months is I play 1 round every week, no cameras, no anything. And I only invite people who bring life to me. We don't talk about form. We don't talk about miss putt. We do because they quack at me. But we just play disc golf. So whatever you decide to make content in, it doesn't even have to be disc golf. Remember why you love it, because ideally you're going to be really good at making content, but no one wants to watch your content if they don't see the love that you have for the sport. So just remember to love it.
And shout out, I don't know if Ben will help with this, but I'm going to do a segment. If you've watched our show, Judge That Disc Golfer is a segment. It was an original segment. If you've never seen it and you're interested, following this, anyone who would like to be judged. Now, this is not form review. This is like judgment. Like, we're going to put you on screen and judge you. Sounds like bad, but it's really fun. We're going to do that at the Nick and Matt Show booth here in a little bit. So if you're interested, you can come watch it or you can be a contestant.
Great. So again, stay tuned for the next session, which is going to be on sustainability with Jesse. But thank you for our content creator panel. Probably take just a couple-minute break. A few-minute break, and then we'll kick off the next session.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was hearing from 5 content creators in the space who have been doing this for several years of combined experience, whether in just the disc golf space or different content creation spaces overall. I obviously have a long-standing relationship with Trash Panda and Overthrow, so always a pleasure to be able to share space with them. And it was fantastic getting to meet Matt of the Nick and Matt Show as well. I'm a longtime listener of the show, so it was kind of like a fun starstruck moment to kind of get to meet him and have that opportunity as well. So I look forward to meeting many more of you in future content creator panels, and let me know down below. Was that helpful? Was that not helpful? Would you want to see more content like that in terms of learning from other people, or especially when we head down to the Creator Cup this year? Do you want to see something like this kind of with different creators that'll be there at that cup, hearing maybe lessons learned from them along the way? I don't know. You guys just let us know. Always trying to provide different content and different ways to help train up future content creators and future disc golfers within the sport, because I know that the world wants to hear your story. It just comes down to how you can present it to help keep people following along in it. So I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. Thank you as always for watching, and I hope you can make it fantastic for someone else too. In the meantime, for now, we're going to leave you with the birdie.